Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth day of the Global Game Jam 2021. And so excited to be here alongside with Corali being our host for this event panel. This is the second event panel that we're having for this week. And yeah, Corali, introduce our event panelists.
And super quick, I'm Coralie. I'm VP of the PRGDA, and let's start with Ashley. Oh, Ashley,
Oh,
I
you're
think
on
you're
mute,
muted.
Ashley.
Think I would remember to unmute by now. Hello, now that y'all can hear me, my name is Ashley Alicea, and I am a developer advocate for games at Unity. Really, what that means is I'm a professional Unity nerd, and I spend my time at different conferences and events, just like Global Game Jam, and I help teach Unity developers how to use brand new Unity features, how to get the most out of the game projects that they're working on, and really just get excited about what everyone in the community is creating. And so I currently am based in Los Angeles, California, but originally I'm from Dorado, Puerto Rico. That's me.
Nice to meet you, Ashley, and thank you for joining us. Carlo?
Hello, everybody. So I'm Carlo Rodriguez, co-founder of Pt.2 Games, and I also work software engineer at Abarca Health. And I'm also a regional organizer in the Global Game Jam from Puerto Rico, so working from here as well. And yeah, just been helping out with the organizing of this for quite a few years. What else? And currently working on a game with another team as well. So looking forward to how that turns out.
And Sam?
Hi, I'm Sam Villanueva. Let's see. I am a senior game designer at Niantic Labs. Currently working with Corley actually on a project. So that's a blast. I've been in the industry for basically ever. So it's been about 4 full console cycles. So if you can extrapolate from there. And yeah, usually my day to day or my work ends up being all around design, basically working with other disciplines and working to get things into the game. Kind of developing either in the early blue sky mode or just production and kind of finishing it up. I grew up in Los Angeles, down in Torrance, but my family, they're from South Jersey, from Florida, and from the islands. So I've just been out this way for most of my life, and I'm really glad to be here. This is fantastic and my first time. So yeah, this is great.
Yay! And last but not least, Pedro.
Hi, everyone. I'm the co-founder of Burial Studios. I also have a day job at IBM working on artificial intelligence technologies. Right now, we're creating a VR golf game, and we're going to be launching pretty soon. So pretty excited to be here and contribute to the community.
Excellent. Now that we have everyone presented, introduced, now let's start with our first question, starting with Carlos. As you may already know, we are at the fourth day of the Global Game Jam. What tips or best practices would you recommend on reaching a deadline successfully?
All right. So since there's only essentially one day left, well, less than 24 hours actually, to be specific. By this point, if you have not um, gone over like a list of tasks that you have yet to do or yet to accomplish, I would suggest to take half an hour to an hour to start setting up different tasks that are absolutely necessary and those that could potentially that are not as needed for the final prototype, so to speak. And I guess from there on, just take it step by step, see what can be done, what cannot be done, and try not to push yourself too much. And also keep in mind that tomorrow you will also have to be dealing with the whole publishing part of uploading your project and organizing it all. Make sure it's you have everything pretty neat and organized once you get to the uploading part. So it's not like a last minute thing that you have to struggle with.
Oh
Yeah, go
no,
ahead.
I was gonna say like I think Carlo hit the nail on the head with scoping and inevitably like kind of through my role at Unity right now I'm helping a bunch of different jam sites, and one of the most common things I'm seeing is people who feel you know really strongly about getting 3 levels in their game or having really cool special effects, but like Carlo said, you got to trim if you want to get your game done. One really nice, beautiful, polished level looks way better than 3 levels are kind of like thrown together last minute. And I think like the tips to recommend for the jam, like it's harder to say now that it's closer towards the end, but also when you're in the beginning of a jam, also just keep that scope in mind as well. And also don't reinvent the wheel. I so often see game creators who approach their project and let, for example, they want to make a camera system entirely from scratch, or they want to make a 2D level builder completely from scratch. And I personally understand the urge and want to do that because you feel awesome creating everything on your own, but you only have 48 hours, and a lot of different game engines that you work with already have features in place to take care of those things for you. For example, instead of making a camera system of your own in Unity, you could just use Cinemachine and you don't even have to do any programming. You could just have that take care of your camera controls and such for you. And so that's something to keep in mind with whatever game development tool you're using, whether it's a game engine, an art program, or more. Try to find these tools that help save you a lot of time because you're going to need that to really polish your game.
Yeah, and I also would like to add is definitely focus on the presentation. Since we're so close to the deadline, I think that it's really important if you have a lot of unfinished work that you set the vision on where this game could go. Take some time to polish out the artwork and to make sure that you have something that's at least playable. Just one level, like Ashley said, is a lot better than having 3 levels that are put together. So and once you have that presentation, try to tell a story. I think that's something that I've seen a lot of successful game jammers is that they take the time to tell the story. Where did it come from? What's the vision long term? Because we know that this is not a polished game. This is not something that you can publish right now. So I think it's really key to plant that seed in people and show people where this can go and show something that they can play.
Yeah, I mean, I think you all kind of nailed all of that. Really early on, I know it's late in the game right now, but for future jams, just establishing your pillars early on, knowing what that is, and have that be agreed upon by the team, and that's your touchstone. That's where you, whenever you're not sure, you're running out of time, identifying what to work on, what to prioritize, and what to deprioritize from. That's where this presentation is going to come from. Is what excited you about the project from the beginning.
I want to follow up with a super quick question related to the same topic. What like really practical ways or methods that you can actually like decide, okay, this feature is going in and this feature is the one that's going to get cut, and especially with a team that can be so passionate about the features that they really want in the game?
I can chime in on that one. One of the things that I recommend people cut the most is that they might have a idea for a mechanic or a feature that they want to implement in their game, but they don't know how to use that tool yet or how to create that yet. And so I generally recommend that if you have to learn an entirely new process or system during the jam, you're going to come across a lot of roadblocks just is because that's natural while you're learning, and you could potentially lose valuable jam time. So if it's something that you think, wow, I've never really done this before, I'm not sure, try to make a maybe even more simplified version of it, or try to do it in collaboration with someone on your team that has experience with it. But it'll be really like I very commonly see folks who show their game at the end of the game jam and said, I wanted to create this really intense like RTS system, but I've never done it before and I wasn't trying to approach it and it didn't work out. So just keep that in mind, like just embrace your skills and your strengths and try to modify and shift your game idea to fit that, to understand what you need to add and let go for your game.
To add to that, I guess another thing they could do is to go over the list of tasks or features or mechanics that they'd like to add and kind of give it a score on how important it is to the core gameplay. of the prototype they're trying to build. And then from that, they start determining what they should focus on. And then, like, if they don't make it to the last task, for example, it's not going to kill the game or anything of the sort.
And one small tip from me is try to share it to someone else, because you're going to see there when someone starts playing where they get stuck. So many times you think things are very important, but once you show people, oh, this is fun, and they continue playing, maybe what you thought is important isn't as important. Or maybe they got stuck and you actually really have to, fix that bug before you continue. So share it to other people, especially get some feedback now, so then you can decide what to cut out.
Sweet. So let's go on to our second question. This one is for Pedro. Uh, any tips on what to avoid and how to maximize your efforts during the deadly crunch time?
Let me just say, I love crunch time. Crunch time is tough. So it gets very stressful right now. I think the most important thing is the communication style. Things can get tense with people. So I think that focusing on the things that matter, like we discussed before, cutting things out so then you have less stress, that's probably the best recommendation. And then as well is, again, story. Sometimes, you people know you're not going to have a polished game, but if you focus on the actual storytelling and where it can go, that might be very helpful. Polish out that presentation. And I'm pretty sure you can find templates on how to pitch your game. Use that template if you don't even know how to make a PowerPoint or a presentation. So that way, you just have to put pictures and maybe a video inside of that, and it's a lot easier. Because I know you're trying to fix the game, trying to finish it, but at the same time, one of the most important things is that pitch. So definitely focus on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of really easy and blasé to just say don't, like, crunch is actually avoidable, but it takes a lot of early communication, clear communication, which almost never actually happens. But if you find yourself in crunch, one of the things I want to throw out there is just remember that everybody is there for the same reason. You're working towards the same goals. If something comes up and there's a lot of stress and a lot of friction, get to the core of what needs to be fixed. Fixed it. Yell at each other later. But, like, get things done right then. And just remember that people might not be communicating their best. It might not be responding their best to things that come up, because you just don't want to waste a bunch of time actually arguing when you could be working or finishing stuff out.
And that's such a good point in terms of, like, being a team and collaborating on this. Respect folks' limits and abilities in that sense, right? If you are someone who loves to crunch, because those of you are out there, don't pressure the rest of your team to crunch. If you are someone who doesn't like to crunch and your team and you feel that everyone else on your team is, don't feel bad if you need some rest. Don't feel bad if you need to go for a walk. Tell your team. Everyone needs to respect each other's kind of abilities in this sense. And so part of being a great team member during Global Game Jam is giving your teammates that time and space to approach their work how they want to.
I'd also like to, I guess, reiterate that the Global Game Jam is not a competition. So it's not necessary to. I know, like, everybody wants to try their best and put all their effort into making sure or trying their best to get the prototype or the game done as much as possible. But if it's not possible, then don't force it, or don't force it on the rest of your team, like Ashley said. Um, Something that you can continue working after game jam ends and be able to implement the rest of the features that you weren't able to work on within the time frame of the game jam, and you can just take it a little bit easier after that. But yeah, just try not to stress yourself out too much, since it's uh, primarily for experience and just for fun.
So that is mostly it. That's a very good advice. Now, for the follow up question, this one will go to Samuel. Jammers may decide to update and publish their game jam projects even after the jam has ended. What tips do you have for keeping up with your game jam projects with the intentions of releasing them either commercially or non-commercially?
Let's see, for this question, I might not be the absolute best person to answer. At least I shouldn't be the only one. Most of the game jam experience I have has been while working professionally, just jams within companies. Um, but I also liken game jams to prototyping. A lot of times we have 48 hours to get a feature up and going. We want to get a version of it running, and we just need to all band together to get this done. So a lot of the same stuff does apply. Anyway, I just wanted to set that stage for them because I like to hear what other people kind of think about this as well. But I definitely think that it's important to basically, when you're done, then if you intend to keep that going and kind of either keep working on it, or at least just kind of like keeping it around to show to other people, do a compatibility run, make sure that it does actually run on people's machines, on different OSs, things like that. Whatever you can do to get it out to people so they can play it and can see it. You put the work in, you want to get it out as far as possible. And then, yeah, archive the crap out of it. Like, make sure you have it and keep it around. The idea of doing something like this and then just throwing it away, you do gather that experience of working with other people and team building, which is invaluable, but it's good to have something to show for that. Whether you're going to put that on your CV or something, or whether you just want to keep it around on a personal site and have links there. As someone who does see kind of resumes come by and does see, I love it when someone's like, I've worked on 7 different things, here's a link. That's fantastic. I will spend the half hour kind of going through, poking through the link and seeing different things they've done and the way that they think and asking them questions about it. So you do want to keep that stuff around, definitely. Yeah, I just think it's important to do that, to have something to show for the work you put in, regardless of what kind of experience it was, to be honest. If it was a great experience, you should be able to talk on that. If it was a bad experience, identify why and talk on that as well. But keep that information around for each of these things. You put your time and effort in, that's valuable, and it's worth keeping around.
I would say after the game jam, challenge everything. Challenge all your assumptions about the game, about the story. That's the time to start planning. If you want to take this seriously and your team is committed for the next 3, 6 months to a year, then take some time, go back to the drawing board, and actually go through a full design process. Because I think when we're in the hackathons and game jams, we're really excited to just get started programming, creating the art, putting things together. But many times that the approach you take at the beginning is probably can be changed and can be improved. So once the game jam ends and you're decided, yes, we want to spend 6 months during the nights and weekends to develop this game, we want to launch on Steam, then go back to the drawing board, make sure that also everyone's committed. That's also many things that I see is that after the game jam happens, the team fall apart. And it's very normal because many times people go to game jams just to get the experience. Sam, you made a great point there. I think you need to keep this on your resume and just show it. Yeah, I've experimented. This is what I made in just a week, in just 48 hours. You can do a lot in that time. But to be honest, it's going to take months to make this production ready. So have that clear roadmap in mind and stay committed with your team.
Yeah, if you want to consider the end result of the 48 hours, your gold master for that specific jam, that's great. But then if you're going to continue on, that goes back to alpha, maybe pre-alpha. But you have the opportunity that it was mentioned before, really, in a really good way of you have something to put in front of people. See what they respond to. They might the feature you thought that was phenomenal might be something that people just gloss over or ignore, and some other small thing you put in that you thought it'd be kind of cool is what they're focusing on. And you might want to take that information and then as you do that kind of iteration on it, pull that to the forefront if you feel like it. So it's super valuable to be able to do that and have, again, something to show for your time that you can put in front of people and see what they think.
Both have really made such important points, especially in regards to making sure your team is aligned on commitment and really kind of understanding how much time it's going to take to create this game. Another approach that I've seen some creators do, and this actually applies to some Global Game Jam games as well, is maybe you don't work on the full entire game because maybe not everyone on your team can work on it for that long, or maybe your team is smaller after the game jam. And it's also a potential possibility for you to create a nicer version of your prototype and then speak to different publishers or game websites or people in your community like PRGDA, show it around, get some advice and feedback. Also, like Samuel was saying, and it's, potentially you could find resources that you could bring in to then start working on your game and having the support that you've needed. I know some Global Game Jam games really polished up their demo. They made like a nice pitch presentation out of it. They went to some publishers and they got funding to hire a team to create the whole rest of the game. So that's also a potential option for you down the road.
Let's see. From my side, I guess to cover the ugly side of it is that, like, let's say you would like to continue the game and then like the rest of your team would not. Make sure you get their consent that it's fine to be able to follow along with that game, and also using the work that they've done, and make sure to credit them. And aside from that, I guess like there are websites like itch.io where you can feel free to publish like even if it's a beta version of it, and just start getting input feedback from the community. And I guess it depends also like what platform you're releasing it to. If it's for PC or if it's for mobile, then sometimes itch.io won't do the trick per se. But it's definitely a way to like at least start getting in the community and start getting feedback and keep following up on it with more updates and see how that goes.
I did want to chime in super quick and maybe ask for, again, you guys' advice on something that Carlo said that I think is really important. When you are in a game jam and you are creating this game together, and it's kind of like this prototype, and there's no real ownership per se on who is the person that like, or who are the people that like this belongs to. So Carlo mentioned like making sure you have really good communication, especially if you want to continue developing this and others don't. What other types of advice do you all recommend you follow if you want to go forward with the game, or if folks aren't really sure like who this game just in general belongs to and what they should be doing with the game together?
I mean, my thought on that would be to, I guess, start off in a very non-combative way for that, or combative way for that discussion. You don't want to come in with like, okay, I don't want to screw anyone out, so blah, 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 or anything. Just don't even bring up that side of it. It's much more of like, I'm really interested in this. I'm excited about it. And have ready, the, how do you want to call it? Not glorification, it's a dumb way to put it, but being able to kind of the acknowledgement of everyone's efforts on there. Their names are going to be on this. It might be a special thanks. You might have a team name there and then say, I'm not going to use the same team name. We'll change that so we can say this was the original team that worked on it. Something there that kind of shows some pride in the experience you had with them, but then clearly says, I'm going to move on with this. And from this point on, I'll be taking responsibility and I'll be doing it. And that should work. That should work for 90-something% of your interactions with people. You're having fun. You're doing a good thing. No one's looking to start up a fight or anything. But then I don't have any real advice about when that does happen or if that does happen. That's an awkward place to be. I understand. And I'm not quite sure the best way to handle it if someone decides that they don't want to continue on, but also don't want you to run with it. That seems like a very interesting kind of take.
I think something in that regard, if that were to happen, a potential resolution could be asking them, what are the aspects of this game that you want to be credited on or you feel like are your contributions? And then say, for example, let's say an artist and they don't want their art to be used. Potentially you could work out replacing their art assets with, by hiring another artist or grabbing something from an asset store, and talking about like, would you be okay if we can take this approach? And of course, even if their work is no longer in the game, still give them credit, still like ask them how they want to be included. And most people are super reasonable about this and super chill. But yeah, when you do come across those roadblocks, it can be stressful. And especially if you're like indies or young folks or students, like most of us at Global Game Jam, you can't afford a lawyer. You can't it's a tough thing to resolve. It's also potentially you could kind of draft some kind of like written agreement between both parties to also, and that's actually important, get it down in writing. Whatever you agree on, make sure that it's recorded in communication, because you don't want a situation later where someone says, oh, you replaced my art, I didn't approve that. So be sure to, whatever resolution you find, write it down.
Yeah, definitely write things down, and also make sure that you have a timeline. I think time will tell who is most committed to the project as well. Life happens. People are going to drop out. People need to study more. People are going to, they have other opportunities. So I would say if the team is serious, most teams are. Everyone's really excited after the game jam. You really want to go on. But then the next week comes in, the following week, and you'll see that people, they don't make it to the meetings, or stuff happens. So definitely set up a timeline within the team to say, hey, from 3 months from now, we want to make a beta. And then from there, it's okay, every single week, we are going to meet on Saturday at 8 p.m. And if someone is not making those meetings and it's not a reasonable reason, then then it's time to make sure that that person is committed. So when that time comes, I think it'll be very clear. But like Ashley said, definitely get it in writing, at least in an email.
Yeah, I guess one last thing is just to remember, this is a creative endeavor. Everyone there is a creative, just a creative period. And one person's contribution, although impactful, might not define the entire project. So if someone's like, don't use my art or don't use my feature, cool, pull it out. I mean, it's hard, it's rough, and it's going to be, it'll impact the game, but that's better than dealing with someone that is being unreasonable. If you get to that point. So identifying what their contribution was, and then just excising that and putting something else in there. The rest of the team come up with something very creative and cool that might be better.
Now that we're going to continue on with our next question, and this one goes to Ashley. Would you recommend that gamers use their game jam projects as part of their game dev portfolio?
Absolutely. Oh my God. Put your game jam games in your portfolio. Well, there's a couple of considerations to keep in mind, but I always see this, and it always breaks my heart. Somebody makes a game jam game. It's really awesome. It's so cool. Like, you achieve that in 48 hours. That's amazing. But they don't put it online or show it anywhere because either they want to keep working on it and they're worried about the idea spreading, or they think, no, it looks really bad, or it doesn't look like a professional fancy game. Everyone in the industry who is looking at your portfolio, they know what a game jam is. They understand the concepts, they understand the limitations. Write down, don't just link the game in your portfolio, write about your experience. Put the game somewhere playable. That's another big thing. A lot of places where people are hiring, for example, can't download an exe build. Maybe their work computers won't let them or something. So make your game as easily accessible as possible by making it a web game. And if it has to be a .exe build or something, record a video and put that in your portfolio. Underneath it, talk about what the game was, who your team members were and what their skill sets were. Talk about what you learned during the game jam, what new skills you picked up, and what kind of your goal is for the future with the game. It's totally okay to say, this is my game jam game. There was 3 of us. We had no artists, so we had to improvise and get assets from the asset store, or we used 2D art that I drew by hand because I didn't know how to 3D model. People love seeing that. When if you're I'm going to assume that if you're sending someone your portfolios because you're applying for a job, we're not trying to see how super extremely perfect your work is. We want to see if you could tackle a problem, if you could analyze a situation, find an alternate solution, creative problem solving, teamwork, work games. I digress, but I just wish more folks would post their game jam stuff more often, and it will should really, really help.
There's not much to add to that. That's really all of it right there. It's super important. It's a big yes. I don't unless anyone else here is saying, no, that's a horrible idea. I love seeing game jam links, and kind of, even if it's video, the whole point is to be able to talk on the experience you had. It could be a great experience. It could be a trash fire. And if you can talk on that, if you can say that, hey, the engineer ghosted us, the designer went crazy and started just like making these mandates, and suddenly our lead artist was taking over coding duties. I want to hear about that. I want to know how people kind of pivoted and did what they could do to get what was there. And then, as long as you can talk on it, a good or a bad experience, that's the important part.
As someone who's hiring, I don't care too much about the classes you took in university or in high school. What I'm looking forward to learning about you is your process. So like Ashley said, and Sam said, we want to see the process. We want to see what problems you encountered. To me, that's a lot more important than the final product. So definitely at least have a video. Not everyone has good computers, so maybe you're working on a virtual reality project, so it's not even accessible to most people. So definitely record a video, write a blog post about what you learned, and share it. Don't be embarrassed about that. It's backwards. You should be proud of what you did in so little time.
Well, I do agree with including it like with your resume or portfolio. I guess I would take it more as a case by case scenario. Like, let's say an artist who worked on the game jam was able to complete a couple of models, but then the company that they're going to be applying for, you don't want to put like I guess all of the art that you've worked on throughout your whole career so far on that portfolio. You would choose like a select few, and particularly depending on which field you're applying for. So, um, yeah, I would take it like a case by case on whether to add it to your portfolio or not. But I would also encourage to, after the game jam, to polish it up a little bit, and then after the polishing, then include it to portfolio. But yeah, it's definitely great for a talking point when in an interview. So I agree on that aspect.
Excellent. Now I'm going to run two more questions, and this could be open to anyone who wants to answer. For this year's Game Jam's theme, Lost and Found, and I'm talking to all of you, what game would you have made? What are your ideas for Lost and Found?
Okay, I just want to go because I really wanted to participate in this year. So I really like machine learning. I would make a scavenger hunt with machine learning. So you would have like the application on your phone saying, hey, you have to look for a coffee cup. And then you have to go around your house, and when you detect the coffee cup with machine learning, it gives you like a prize or a point. So this has been done before, like Google has done before, but I would love to learn how to do it inside of Unity and integrate something more advanced like machine learning. So that's me.
That's awesome. I really like that idea. I might join your team now. I'm actually participating in Global Game Jam this year. I'm over at the Los Angeles University of Southern California Jam site, and my team and I are working on a game about, you know how like there are flocks of crows, and if you give them food, they come and bring you little presents and little pieces of metal and such. So this is a game about, you're playing a crow and you're trying to bring some lost treasures that you found back to their correct owners. So we'll see how it goes by the end of the jam tomorrow. I'm excited.
That's actually a really, really exciting theme. That sounds like it can go a lot of different ways, and you've already both come up with things that I didn't even enter my head. So that's really, really cool. For me personally, there's an easy and a more difficult answer for this. I'm kind of attracted to both, but the easy one, most of my career has been in either platforming games or third-person action adventure games, and so I like mechanics and I like combining mechanics. So the idea of doing like a Castlevania beginning where you have everything at your disposal, you lose all of it, but then you have to kind of find different abilities, not in a Metroidvania way where they're permanent, but maybe like you have very, very limited slots. You have to choose which ones you want to use at any time and be okay with the hard decisions of losing a mechanic in favor of a different one for a situation you need to deal with. I think that might be fun to just have like 2 or 3 slots, 7 different options, and depending on which enemy you get from it or which world interaction you get from it, you go around and start combining them and using that to move forward. So that one is like bread and butter. I think that's a pretty easy one. One that would challenge me, but I think would be really fun for for this. And a lot of it's just topical stuff, but the idea of more of a story, almost visual novel type of game, but something where you have to identify things you lost in the current time in the pandemic, and then ways that you found to like regain that in a different way. I think that would be really, really strong and powerful. It might not be the longest game, and it might not be the flashiest thing, but just trying to think about ways you found to communicate with friends, communicate with family, getting a hold of your favorite food, just different. You decided you're gonna have to start baking bread or start baking things and doing this because you don't want to go without that thing. So you've lost it in one way, but there are ways to find it elsewhere. I think that would be a lot of fun to kind of see if you can identify a set of those and give people ways to kind of both set their goals for that and then see how they accomplish them in a game. So I don't know how accomplishable that would be in 48 hours, but like that's with that theme, I would probably try to go in that way if I was really going to challenge myself for it.
So I guess in my case, those are really cool ideas. In my case, I haven't been able to give it that much thought to it, but originally when I first heard of the theme Lost and Found, obviously I considered the option of a lost dog and you're the pet owner, and you're kind of on like a mini adventure. Could be also like visual novel like, and trying to find your pet, or it could also be something as more simplified, just like finding your cell phone using the little beeper, or perhaps like your earbuds, just like around the house, like at a third person, oh no, first person um, adventure. And it's just like, you click it, you try to find out where the sound is coming from, you go around the house and search for it, and there should be like obstacles on the way that you would have to tackle first. Something along those lines.
I think that's really great. The idea of like even for more of a with our current stuff geolocation type of thing. I already want to change my answer and be like, yes, that that would be if you have something where people have every day it refreshes and suddenly something you've lost is over near him, something you've lost is over near her, something she's lost is over near him, and then you both have to find it, sending it to them and communicating in some way. I think that just seems like a neat way to kind of have people interact, have strangers interact in a cool way going along with the theme. I love that idea. I think that's cool.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Now let's go for the last question. And again, this is open to everyone. If you have participated in a game jam, those who are participating in a game jam before, what are your favorite moments?
I want to jump in for this one. So this is my 12th global game jam. I've been doing it since like 2009, 2010-ish, and I've done also many other game jams. I always love like the night like of day two, like essentially like Saturday night, or the night before the game is due, because that's when people are really in the zone, but they're also more relaxed, they're more comfortable with each other, and everyone's talking and having fun. And so just like I've been at game jam events where like it's like 11 o'clock at night, and then a bunch of us in the jam like get together and like run across the college campus to get late night dinner, or all of us packing in a car to go do something, or everyone singing during the game jam, or dancing. I think one of my favorites was I did so I organized Global Game Jam in Puerto Rico in 2014, I think 2014, and we had a musician, a pianist, as part of the game jam, and he was playing salsa versions of like popular video game songs. So he was there playing a salsa version of like the Super Mario theme, and all of us were just like applauding, clapping him on, and really it's and dancing. It was so much fun. But really, for me, the best part about game jams is the making friends part, right? Like, I want to come to the jams because I want to practice my game development skills. I want to get better. I want to make a fun game. But you leave with more than a game. You leave with friendships for life. Those friends that I made at my first Global Game Jam like 12 years ago are still my friends today. And it's because we're spending our jam, those moments of having fun and celebrating together. Don't forget to celebrate at Global Game Jam. My thoughts.
So I participated back in that 2014 Global Game Jam that Ashley mentioned. And I'd say like one of the favorite moments aside from that was like, even though like some stuff didn't go our way regarding the game, we would still like try to turn it into make it something funny, at least to us. It felt funny. And like we wanted to make a game of uh sort of like a brawler, and you were controlling a dog and then like cats would attack you, if I'm not mistaken. Or is the other way around where you're a cat? Yeah, you were a cat and the dogs would attack you. And originally we were trying to like, just give the cat regular attacks, and by the end of the jam it was shooting lasers out of its eyes. So, they're like fun moments in between. It's like things ain't go your way, you can like always try to shift it around and see how to make it fun or go your way to some extent.
My favorite thing is probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks after the game jam, hearing that people got hired at a company. I think that's one of the biggest wins at game jams. Is like, oh yeah, I got an interview at the studio, and now I'm already working on a game. So for me, that's the thing that most warms my heart, is that those relationships you make, but also the professional relationships that lead to job opportunities.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything that tops people getting gigs out of this. That sounds really, really, really good. From my limited experience, I like it. I like seeing people kind of get out of their comfort zone. I love it when like you've got a lead animator that's like, I'm designing on this. It's like, cool, and you get some really creative ideas, that some outside of the box thinking, and kind of helping make that a realization, and then realizing yourself like, I wouldn't have thought of that. That's actually really pretty brilliant. That's neat. And you've got an engineer that's doing art, and you have an artist doing engineering. You got all these people just kind of like crossing or blurring those lines. I love that part of it, and then everyone just kind of working together, to solve these problems. It isn't, when you're in a larger team, you have different kind of strike teams for different things, but when it's a smaller group getting a prototype or a jam together, then it's everyone just, there's this issue, let's all jump in, and you get everybody talking about it, and you get potential solutions very, very quickly. It isn't, let's schedule a meeting for next Friday and see how it goes and see what comes out of that. You're not doing any of that. You just tackle it, knock it out, move on to the next one. And I really like that kind of feeling.
One thing that I really enjoy about game jams is that we don't have to take ourselves too seriously. It's the perfect moment to just kind of be silly and what Sam and a bunch of others said, just kind of test things we've typically never tested before. And I kind of want to just say it's okay to be silly. It's okay. You don't have to be super serious during a game jam. You could do that later. You could do that 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. That's fine. When you're actually like looking at the game and like, okay, like that, like if we were to actually make this game, what would we change or improve or iterate upon? But in the moment when you're actually making this thing, like Carlo was talking about, like lasers coming out of cat's eyes, that to me sounds like a lot of fun. Like, and this is a moment to take advantage of just having fun with it, having fun with your ideas and doing something that is out of the box. Like no one's going to judge it. No one's going to be like, no, you can't do that. Yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there real quick.
And often those games are the most memorable of the game jams. Like I think of all the past game jams I went to, and all the ones that stick in my brain are hilarious, zany, wacky stuff. And even compared to super professional teams who have created something gorgeous, I will always love cats with lasers chasing dogs. Like that's what I'm here for. So I agree. It's so important. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Yeah, I think you can't put enough importance on it, because that shows through. It shows to the people that are playing it. It shows to the people that are around you, and kind of when if you've had that fun and that love kind of putting into it, and you can kind of convey that to the person that's holding the controller, that's perfect. That's the best case scenario. There's certain games where they just had a blast making it. I don't think Katamari Damacy was like a trudge to get through and make that game. No, it's just a weird, fun, kooky game. And the second you say the name, you have a song going in your head. That's fantastic. So anytime you can really kind of show that and kind of drive that through to the people playing, that's a win. That's a huge win.
It's amazing. So I'm out of questions, but I want to hear everyone from who's watching Twitch right now. If you have any questions that you want to bring to the panelists, you can go right ahead and type it on chat. And we also got a few questions. Corali, go ahead.
Yeah. So one of the first questions, any tips on adding multiplayer or online features to my game? After the game jam.
As someone who just made a multiplayer game, look at the tools, look at Photon and Normcore. So those two platforms, they work really well. They have plugins, they have documentation. So for me, those are one of the best platforms. Maybe Ashley, you have any other thoughts on here for Unity? But I personally love Photon and love Normcore. They integrate really easily inside of a multiplayer game.
Personally, the one type of games I don't generally work on are multiplayer games and network games. But Pedro has great advice, and Unity has also some really good solutions available as well that you could find on the Unity website. If you go to our page, if you check solutions, there you should see a part for like network games or online games. And I can't say things yet, but things are coming soon that will probably be of interest of you if you do want to do this. So, but that's what I can say for now.
I think from a design perspective, because we get yelled at for doing this constantly, but keep in mind what any decision like that, the impact that has on every other part of the game. Because you think it is the coolest thing, it's going to add something, and it's going to be groundbreaking, and it could be true. I mean, it is true because you thought it up. But what does that do to engineering? What does that do to sound? What does that do to art? What does that do to UI, UX? How does that change that experience? And what kind of baggage comes along with that decision? Not saying don't do it, but it's saying as part of it always goes over so much better if you already thought about that and you've listed out and you can talk to each person on those different parts. Because if you just come in and say, yo, we're adding multiplayer, it's going to be fantastic, let me know how it goes, and you take off, that's never going to end well. And I'm not saying people are looking to do that, but I'm just saying it is a big decision to add those types of features to a game. That changes the scope of the game completely.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Whenever you're doing a multiplayer game, not only do you need the server to run it, but you also need a database. So look for a backend programmer if no one on your team has that experience, because you will need it. So good luck.
Actually, on that note too, they can be cheap depending on how you author that stuff. You can have a database from Amazon that's next to nothing if you keep it under a certain amount of data. And if it's just ones and zeros, you're good to go. If you're trying to push a bunch of models and things, that's different. But if you're just doing that, I've slid a game that was in full-on retail where I could go and actually just live update the data through an Amazon server, which is a big no-no. But you can just get access to that and play with that kind of stuff. So it isn't the end of the world if you have a requirement like that. It's just being smart about how you author that and what your expectations are for it.
And to add to that, there's kind of like also what I said earlier about game jams also applies to this. Think about the types of systems that you want for your multiplayer game and check to see what resources are available. Like, for example, Pedro mentioned Photon. Unity has some options as well. Like, for example, one of them is VBox. So that will take care of all your voice and text and chat communication. But when you check it out, you can also usually download like free sample projects that you can then open and look and copy code, so you don't have to like figure out how to create like this whole like voice systems from scratch. And the cool thing about that, about VBox and some other networking features you might find is that they very often have free licenses for small teams or for independent developers. Like if your team is, you're not making X amount of money yet, or it's just 5 of you or something, then you can just access the tools for free. So actually search out there, think about what you want, and try to find resources that can help take care of that for you.
Thank you. Just in case for those watching, I did post some links in chat specifically for Photon Engine, Normcore, and VBox. Have at them. And the second question we have is, should I copy my... sorry?
For Carlos, he wants to answer.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry.
So yeah, I agree with the rest of the crew, and I have dealt with Photon, and also I used PlayFab to deal with some of the database aspect. When I created, when we at Batu Games created Atriage multiplayer, but that was years ago, so I'm not sure how much Photon and PlayFab has changed since then. I haven't really kept up with the multiplayer aspect. And I guess I also like to uh, point out that Kelvin gave a talk a few days ago on ML API for Unity specifically. So that's something that could be looked into. But if you're going to do a multiplayer game for mobile, I guess you'll have to see what options. I guess it's very important that you do plenty of research before deciding which path to go.
And I went ahead and shared those 2 suggestions in the chat as well. Next question: should I copyright my game, and when should I start the process?
I would say talk to a lawyer first. Many times it's not necessary at the beginning, but once you are serious about it, then yeah, I think there will be a time where you need to incorporate, make a company, copyright. Make sure you have the branding. You should also look if there's any other games or software that has the same name as your current game. So definitely go through that. But I think this is something that you should speak with a professional.
Add to that, if you are just getting started in the industry or you're hearing these things like lawyers and copyright and I don't know what to do, also look for local game developer studios or companies in your area, or maybe one of your friends works at one, because they could recommend lawyers who are specialized in this because they probably had to work with those. So that could be a potential resource as well. When it comes to knowing when to do it, it's kind of hard to say, but I'll often see people who will say, I'm not going to share anything about my game or post it online until I can get it copyrighted for my protection. You still, like, just because you put it online doesn't mean that you can't copyright it later in the future. So just keep that in mind when thinking about your process of how you want to, find out like the life for your game.
I guess something to keep in mind is that when you upload your game, well, I guess for the Global Game Jam, you automatically have to include the Creative Commons licenses, if I'm not mistaken, along with it. So people would be able to technically use your source code or at least look into it. They also have to give you credit, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not that well knowledgeable on that side of it, and
They do consumer, or sorry, they do offer like some protections if you do want to create and publish your game. So it's
correct.
not just because you upload it, it's not going to be lost forever. You can never copyright it. You still can. So, but you're right. It's important that we discuss this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't have any real experience with that side of it, which means that is the best advice: is talk to someone that does. Find someone that can actually direct you in the right way for that kind of stuff. Your buddy might have a pretty good handle on it, but not someone that professionally kind of deals with this stuff constantly.
Just in case, in the chat, I did put 2 additional resources. One, so the IGDA does have like documents that are available to everybody regarding any sort of legal, including copyright laws and all that. That's worth a look, if anything, before you start talking to someone. As well as they do have a special interest group for business and legal that if you don't know who to talk to, you can post in there and just ask, hey, I'm looking for a lawyer that deals with copyright. Can I just, quick consultation? And that can definitely work too. We did that a while back with it wasn't a game jam, but it was more of a collaboration project that I was on, and we were trying to figure out what we wanted to do with that project, and we just reached out to those special interest groups. One other question that we have here: any tips for making a web-based game?
A more kind of recent addition to Unity is the ability to publish your games to WebGL or HTML5. So that's something that you can keep in mind if you want to create your game for the web platform. There's a pretty easy build option for you to use. My number one recommendation for that on that front is make sure that the technology and the features that you're going to use are compatible with WebGL. So you may have, for example, like I just faced this in my global game jam team. We were wondering whether to use Fmod or WIs to handle our audio, but we found out that one of them doesn't work properly on HTML5. So that's how we made our feature decision. And it's just worth thinking about, okay, I want to use these features, or I want to have, this kind of game. I would just, do a quick Google search or even see what other folks say. And also remember that, the bigger the game, the heavier it is, the more harder it will be to translate over to a WebGL game. So start with something simple in that regard as well.
I would say one thing: keep your art assets small as possible. Go as low poly as possible, because remember, people have to download the game. You want a good experience. You want it, not to be forever loading. Many times, I've seen that developers, they work on their game at their house, for example, where they have good internet. Think about your audience. Do they have good internet? Because that's something very key in the experience.
Yeah, all I can think of is plus one optimization across the board. All of your assets, all your kind of cycles, everything they're trying to. If you need to grab a different engineer afterwards to kind of get things to run better or to run specifically for web, that's a good way to go. Somebody with experience with that, because that might be just a bit much for whoever you're currently working with in a jam to really take on in a proper amount of time. So think about, it didn't occur to me till you mentioned it, but yeah, optimization is huge for something like that.
Yeah, I don't really have that much more to add. Optimization is definitely key to it. And I guess research which engine you'd like to work with to get it to web development, to get it to be played on the web. And yeah, that's pretty much it on my side.
Sweet. Chat, if you have any more questions, feel free to post them in there and I'll get to them as quickly as I can. In the meantime, I'm going to hand it off to Leo.
Well, right now, if you guys want to do a shameless plug, you can go right ahead and just share your socials where everyone can find you. There's in Twitter or Instagram, anything like that. Let's start with Ashley.
Okay, my spiel. I want to see the games that you make from Global Game Jam, especially if you made a Unity game. I love seeing what people create every year. Please, you could send them to me directly. I'm Avashly on Twitter, AVASHLY, but you can post them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever, with the hashtags GGJ online and hashtag made with Unity. We really are excited to see what the community has created. And also, if you need resources, still it's late in the game, but if you need resources or you want to know where you could find links to Unity's Discord where you can ask questions, we have our forums, we have where we also posted our new jobs board recently. You can go to Global Game Jam 2021.unity.com. And you'll find a bunch of lists of things that can help you as you're making your Unity game for Global Game Jam. But if you just want to say hi or hello, I'm always happy to connect with people in the community, with Unity developers, and especially fellow game dev in La Isla in Puerto Rico. So feel free to message me and say hi.
Okay, let's go for Carlo.
All right, so yeah, definitely whenever you post something on social media, include the hashtag GGJ PR21 or not sure if PRGDA has a hashtag that you know of, Leo or Corali. And
I think what we use for just general PRGDA stuff, we just put PRGDA or PR game devs. But specific to this game jam, I think the one that you mentioned is the one that we're using.
Yeah, that's the one we're using. All right, so yeah, make sure you use that hashtag, and also doesn't have to be now, but afterwards, yeah, go over the list of resources that we have posted in the channel of resources, which has a lot of links and information regarding different programs, different engines, all sorts of information that you can look into afterwards. And you can feel free to reach out to me either through Discord, which I am in the PRGDA group, and also I don't really use Twitter that much, so I don't want to make promises there. So I guess that's pretty much it. You can reach out to me through Discord if you need any help, or also the Global Game Jam Puerto Rico page, which I'm an admin of. So you can reach out through there.
Let's move on to Pedro. Do you have any?
Yes. So first of all, at Villanueva Studios, that's Villanueva with a V, studios.com. We're actually hiring. So if you're a concept artist, an environment artist, or a programmer with Unity, please contact us. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And on my personal side, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn as Pedro Cruz, IO. So reach out if you have any questions regarding VR, especially VR, AR development. I also work at IBM, so if you need any help with cloud computing or artificial intelligence, definitely reach out to me. I'm really happy to help and be mentors for those who want to learn.
Next, we have Samuel.
Hey, I don't really have anything personal to plug or anything like that. More just like to reiterate my appreciation for everyone kind of going in and jamming and getting this going. It's I love seeing that. It's not something that was really a thing as I was coming up, and then I haven't had much time to kind of participate in stuff like that now. But I just have an incredible amount of respect for it, for the drive and for the passion to kind of go in and do this. Plus, just what you're learning from doing it, the experiences you're getting, and creating with other people. So keep doing it. Do it as much as possible. Do it often. Yeah, I think it's great. And then on a higher level, just stay safe, wear a mask, be good to each other, and have fun. Have fun playing and making games.
Well,
I
that's
also
it for
like
this.
to Leo, if I could chime in quickly. Forgot a quick plug that could be put in to follow our game that's going on so far, Bebe's Adventures. If you can like post that in the chat, I'd
I'm on it
appreciate that.
now. All right, I'm posting that in there now.
So yeah, we'll be posting updates on new content whenever we have available.
Sweet.
And
I also wanted to do a super quick plug, and sorry, Leo. Sam, we do have something to share that we can plug. So our team is actually looking for a senior backend engineer, and we're also looking for junior designers. We have 2 roles open. If you are interested, reach out to either me or Sam, and we can chat about the positions and what they're looking for and everything, especially for the junior role, because it's actually not up. At least not right now. And the company as a whole is looking for a bunch of backend engineers. Like they're looking for a bunch of different projects. And I believe we're also maybe looking for a 2D artist, right, Sam?
That was, yeah, I think it was very recent, but we saw talk about an artist, someone on the art side, definitely the engineer side, and on the design side. So yeah, getting a hold of us or going to the Niantic page as as you see things pop up there. Those will be, if they're not there now, they should be up shortly, definitely. And yeah, come work with us, come have fun.
Yeah, we're a pretty good team. We're a lot of fun, a lot of great things coming, but a lot of work, but very fun. For now, just in case, because I know a lot of people will be asking this, for now we are fully remote. So you can work from wherever it is that you are. We do hope to come back to the office, and in our case, for our team, we are in LA. So you would have to move eventually, but we don't know when that's going to happen, so don't worry too much about it right now.
But just company-wide, like every step of the way, if you have the different decisions that a company has to make about handling the current situation, they've made the right ones, they've made the safe ones, and it's been really a good feeling seeing them do that. So kind of blowing smoke, but not really, because I just really do feel that way. It's been interesting and very. I was very heartened by seeing the care that they were having for the employees. So yeah, so don't worry about that kind of stuff. No one's going to surprise you with. You need to be elbow to elbow with 17 other people in a room.
So I would like to say thank you all for participating, for being with us for a few minutes, maybe like possibly over an hour. And that would lead to just let you not. Sorry. Let's just let you jammers know, keep on jamming, because tomorrow we're going to have our final day. We're going to have a presentation day for to see all your games working out. So I just like to let you know, stay safe, stay healthy, wear your mask on, and we'll catch you up tomorrow. Now we're just gonna have to jump out with Jackie.